Hey everybody, welcome back to Champ and Sons and our Planet Coaster 2 series here in Austin's Wonderland. And it looks like it's starting to rain here in the park as we get set up for a new section. Now we have our new flying coaster put in, and so we're just kind of taking a quick look at it. This isn't anything, just kind of wanted to see where some of these drop points are, some of the angles that we need to kind of clear out, and how do we really want to design everything going on around this coaster and kind of really get this thing completed up for this area. So it's kind of a mixture of, I don't want to say theming, but I guess you probably could say that. But it is really more of a mixture of it in terms of coming off from the little centerway. I wanted the view of the track going right down there, so as you're walking up to it, you see it. But it's kind of a mixture of the Viking with, I don't know what you would define castles, what era I guess you would define them as. I don't want to say medieval because it's definitely not that. I guess you could say think of Viking / Game of Thrones, a little combo of the two. You know what I mean? So here we are. We got the coaster down, and I'm just going to start working on getting this queue put in. I'm still, at this point, still working on understanding the queue lines a little bit better. I've got a pretty good handle on it now, so I think what we do now in the recent time, as we get closer and closer with these videos, what we do in the recent time now is a lot better, a lot more in control, and overall it really just kind of helps the rides, I think, kind of come together in a better way than what we see here at times. So we are just getting this queue put in. It's going to be a pretty windy one. I want it to be viewed. I guess I want it to be a little bit of a longer queue. It doesn't have to be the longest one in the world, but I definitely want it to be slightly longer. Just because this is going to be a premier style coaster, you know what I mean? So I do want it to be just slightly longer. Now, I don't ever do the whole rounding out cattle pin stuff for these queues. I just really don't like to do that. And here, like I said, I'm still working on it because I realized I guess I forgot whatever feature it is, but it's got the line style. I have it on as curve, and really to get some of those turns, even with angle lock on, you have to kind of it's a lot easier to do whenever you have it on angle or straight instead of curve. So it takes me a little bit to figure that one out, but we get it done, we get it figured. That's just how we roll here. Is it takes us a little bit longer. That's just the way it goes at times. You can see I'm still having some of those problems, but that's switching between curved and line. It's one of those, it became kind of an issue for me. But hey, you can always get it fixed, right? So it just takes some practice. But that's what we're going to be doing here in this episode, is really focusing on this flying coaster. So stay tuned for it. We got a lot of stuff going on. You will get a POV ride of the coaster. I believe we should have it fully done in this episode, and you'll get to kind of see how things shape out for us there. It's looking pretty smooth right now, looking pretty good, and I think it's only going to get better the more that we start to really add some decorations to it. So I'll check back in with y'all here in just a wee bit, everybody, but I will be back. Just hang on, enjoy the tunes, and I'll check in here in a wee bit. Hey everybody, I am back here with y'all as we are finishing up some work on this station house. And so this is kind of what I was talking about when I said Viking and castles. It's a mixture of some of the Viking wall decorations, Viking stone wall trims, and a lot of the more Viking stuff that is around here now. In grand spectrum of stuff, I think Viking for the most part did believe in at least dragons' existence to some degree, right? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Their stuff's not really written down. It's hard to know, so I'm going to say yes. But so we are mixing it kind of up at least a little bit. Now, in general, during the castle times, Vikings obviously were around during that time, so it does fit for that sense, but in every other sense, not so much. Here, this is just kind of thinking of this station as a smaller style castle, right? So that's kind of what I want to think of it as. And so that's why we're putting a lot of the trim around to kind of give it some of that depth, but we're having some of these tower areas built and all that stuff. It really does work out pretty well for this overall design in the end. Especially with it being a flying coaster. We are going with the name Flying Dragon. And guys, I promise y'all, if you think that a name like that came because of the movie Sidekicks, well, you're right. I thought the movie was hilarious. I enjoyed it. It's a very classic Chuck Norris teenage karate movie from the 90s, It's got that good feel to it. Brings back some nostalgia watching that movie. It's a horrible movie by all means. Like, don't watch this thing expecting to see an Oscar winner, But if you're a fan of cheesy Chuck Norris stuff, then yeah, it's good. It's good business. So just keep that in mind as you go, if you choose to watch it. So here we are, just kind of finishing up some of this station. Like I said, the Viking stuff works really well for castles, so you don't have to make it stuff explicitly Viking. We can use this. I'm not someone who's totally creative enough to use it for like Western style stuff, because that's just not me. But it turns out pretty well, especially with these little fences. I think that's supposed to be trim. Or no, that's a cross trim section. But I think this actually works out pretty well for a fence. At least, if anything, acting like a little barrier on a station, or even on a path. It does work extremely well for that, and I think it actually looks pretty good to use it in that way. I wanted to add in a little bit more height into things, right? So, if I could imagine a Viking sect took over a castle, there's going to be some changes to that castle and the things that are on it, the way it's kind of overall, the layout of it, some of the stuff on the outside. So I really just wanted to get some things put on here to really give it that differential, that differentiation. This is not just a regular style castle. Imagine this is like a Viking style castle, right? More with the dragon head, stuff like that, those different little statue things going on around. I'm putting down just some basic scenery pieces to kind of add to the view of it. It's not the most visible thing in the world, these pieces, so I think they turn out and work pretty well for what we need them to be. And so I really like how this stuff turns out. These little banners. What's weird is it always shows them clipping because they're always moving. If they just didn't do that, those would actually look pretty damn good just in general. We could use those. So, but they do clip. That's the only problem with them. I want to, and I know I've discussed this before, I want to add in some path coverage. I generally try to, just so we can get some shading. Like I said, everybody that's either seen a live stream or seen one of these coaster videos knows I mentioned the only theme parks around me are Fiesta, Texas and Over, Texas, because I live in Texas. So it's hot as balls outside in the summertime. Well, it's hot as balls for about 9 to 10 months out of the year, right? So It's one of those. I like having the shade on the queue lines on coasters. It just makes a big feeling of relief. I'll say that much. To have that. So I think we've gotten this pretty well. We're putting together a little bit of a Viking ship, and like I said, it's not the most flying dragon kind of thing. A part of you wants to think, maybe medieval or even Asian kind of architecture, but I think this worked out pretty well. I really do. We're going to go ahead and get a sign built in with the lettering as we go. An update was put out not all that long ago for the billboards, so we will start to see that get used. Maybe not as regularly, but we are going to start putting those in our park and kind of use those to start making our ride signs. You see, this is what we're doing right now, is making the ride sign here. So now we are going to have our, like I said, our POV coming up here fairly quickly. In about, I want to say 3-4 minutes maybe from this point. So you will get to kind of see how everything truly does come together here for this ride. So it is pretty interesting. I think the way the final product looks, it's actually a pretty good segue into this area, but also I think it really does fit the overall aesthetic that we're going for. And this is a pretty confined space, so there's not too much really that can fit in here. So it is a fairly confined one. So this Viking style feel to it, to this area, it's going to be a fairly small plant in what the entire park is and what it's kind of becoming as we go along here in this build and in this park design. So it's going to be pretty interesting to kind of see how things do continue to shape out. I want to make sure to, one, continue to work on the signs, and as the billboards come out, I'll start using those. But I really want to try to continue to push what we're using these pieces for and adding a lot of this extra decoration to these areas, just because it does bring the park to life, really. And so that's kind of one of the best parts about this, is the fact that it does bring the park to life so well. Now, these are just basic path covers. I wasn't going to go too extraneous with this. Mainly their fit isn't as glorious as you'd really like it to be, but I was really just wanting basic coverage for the peeps, for shading. So I know it's one of those things that, yeah, we're only going to be able to go up to a certain point, and then we'll kind of block things off from there, but I really think it would pay off. I probably should have raised this up a little higher in that area. I just didn't. So it does come kind of close there at the end. Now here, I'm going to go ahead and I need to look at kind of closing off this back edge right here, this opening, just because I think in a real theme park it would be closed off. It's not something that you would see a whole lot of space through to see kind of out in the open. It just feels like we wouldn't have that. So we are building basically like it's a basic style fence. There's nothing really too drastic about it. It's just going to have some space in there, so you do get some natural light, but we are going to go through and put lights in each and every one of those things as we go. I just want to make sure to kind of get things covered up accordingly. So we do put those in there, and yeah, it adds some pretty decent shading to it. I'm sitting here jacking around with a camera, but it's just one of those things. I'm going to get these lights put in. We should be getting to the POV here fairly quickly in about another minute or two. It's going to kind of creep up on me, I've got a feeling, when it does. But here we are, just lighting up the station house. I don't want it to be too bright, so we do go with these kind of dim lit ones. I think in our world it simulates a fire lamp or a hot coal fire lamp or some shit, because I think if you actually had like a real one like that, that'd be way too dangerous to just have out there, especially with all the damn wood around. And so I am putting it all throughout the queue. You're gonna see me really get this thing lit up, And I think it would be. In any theme park, they're going to have a lot of the areas where you have twists and turns or different kind of decorations. They are going to keep that stuff well lit. Just for the simple fact of, hey, they may get sued. You never know. So now I also need to get my sign lit. And I do go with a red light. I really like how that red light looks on it. I know the track is blue for right now, but we will change that color. As you see, here we go. We're going to start changing that now. And I think this makes it look a lot better and really kind of brings the ride to a smooth point once we get these colors changed on it. Really brings it to life overall as we do look at some of these things. Now, I do kind of go in and start thinking about, do I put something on the coaster train? I decided against it for right now. I just want to kind of get this area finished building up, and so we can say this area's, decorations. These are completed. No need to continue to worry about them. I'm choosing the plants. I don't know. I feel like Planet Coaster 1, yeah, there's a lot of the same style of plants, but I think it just felt easier in Planet Coaster 1 to pick plants to put in. I don't know why. I don't know if it is that there was more options or that, just better options in Planet Coaster 1. I don't know which one that is, more or better. So we do still have some area to finish building up here, so we're going to put some decorations down here in the water, and then that little flat piece that we're right over here by is going to become a little restaurant area, so we're going to build that section up too. I don't think that gets done here because we're going to jump into the POV here in a minute, but it does become a part of the park eventually. So it's actually looking pretty good. It's coming fairly smooth throughout. I got to get the path. I want to get it lined up closer to the waterway just so we can really create a lot of those viewpoints there. So yeah. So here we are. The ride is open. We got them coming in. I think they're sitting there stuck in the at the block breaks waiting for people to get on. So that's one kind of thing about this. You open up a ride, people will come to it, but just saying, All right, we're about to jump into that POV ride. I'm going to let it go. Halfway. Pretty fast there at the end. So that's how the park is setting up right now. That ride is pretty much done. Just got to finish off some of the more finer point detailing in the area. Some stuff we'll do off camera. But definitely stick with us, guys, as we continue to build this park. It's been a fun ride. It's going to continue to be as this park develops. So definitely hit the subscribe button if you have not hit it already, and hit that little bell icon so you can be notified of all the Champ and Sons content that does get uploaded here to the channel. And I will see y'all in the next episode of Austin's Wonderland, everybody. So as always, stay safe, and well, you know how it goes from here, right? Later, y'all.